Welcome to the Unlock 360 podcast, where education leaders share how they're turning vision into action, one system, one school, and one student at a time, because strong systems give every learner a better shot at success. Joining us today, we have Superintendent Scott Kilgore of Ingleside ISD. Welcome, Scott.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Of course, thank you for joining us. Was hoping to start with just finding out a little bit about your journey and how your experience over the years prepared you for the superintendency.
Absolutely. My journey is probably a little different than your typical school superintendent. Right now, this is my 26th year of public education. And for 21 of those years, I was actually a teacher, a bus driver, a coach. I was an athletic director. I taught government, economics, world history, US history, world geography, and then I moved into special education and was a special education teacher. And throughout my journey, I was a coach, and so I did move around for several different districts during my career as I ultimately achieved what I thought was my final goal, which was to be an athletic director here in the state of Texas. I did that for a while, and then I decided I needed a bigger platform to help kids and teachers and educators, and so then I wound up actually moving into a administrative role as a campus leader, and then right before we had the Uvalde tragedy here in Texas, I was named our district's safety director. So then after Uvalde, a lot of safety changed in how we do things in schools. And so I was kind of on the in the forefront of that. I was, basically trying to take our district and make sure that we continued to provide the safest possible environment for our students and our staff. So we implemented a lot of new protocols and procedures with some of the new laws that were legislated. And then ultimately, I wound up applying for the superintendent job in my district after the superintendent that had hired me decided to retire. And one of the interesting things here is in Ingleside, I'm only the sixth school superintendent in the history of our district. Uh,
That is interesting.
yes, and our district's been around for a long time. So the superintendent I actually took over for when he retired, he had been here for 18 years as the superintendent. And prior to him, there had been two superintendents who had only been here for a short period of time, but his father had been the superintendent here for 32 years. So you had 50 years of experience as superintendent just from that one family. So it's been an interesting transition. But me being part of this district before I became the superintendent, not only as an administrator, but on my coaching journey and teaching journey, I had actually been in this district in the early 2000s as a teacher and a coach. So coming back here, it really felt like home, and really excited and grateful for the opportunity to serve this community and the great things that we're doing here.
Yeah. Are you from Texas?
I am from Texas. Originally, I am from what I call West Texas. Some people call it North Texas, up in the Panhandle, which was Amarillo, Texas, is where I was born and was raised there until I got to middle school, and then my parents relocated down here to the Corpus Christi area in the Coastal Bend when I was kind of moving between middle school and high school, and so uh, came down here in high school and went to college down in this area, and then I really spent my entire career here in the Coastal Bend, uh, and just really been to some different school districts, and each one of them has really given me a lot of insight and valuable knowledge that I try and use as I help lead Ingleside into the future.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. And you have had so many different roles. That has to come in handy for the superintendency.
It definitely does. I think one of the things that is, unique to me is, uh, I I I spent such a long time in the classroom. I was not what they call a career administrator. I did most of my career was in the classroom, and so I can relate to the teachers and the students because I was doing that for a large part of my career, and so I think just building those personal relationships with our staff, and then also our students in the district, just like if I was their teacher or their coach, has really helped me in this role, because they feel like they can come up and they can talk to me, and we can have those conversations that sometimes, especially in larger districts, the superintendent's more of the CEO, which I am that in my current role, but it's more of a family, personal atmosphere that we try and create here in Ingleside ISD.
That's great. Can you share some of the leadership lessons that you've learned during your transition from the operational side to the CEO?
Absolutely. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned, and I think I've learned this along the way in my professional journey, is that you want to surround yourself with great people, and you want to surround yourself with the experts, and you want to collaborate with them. That's the big buzzword, is collaboration. But really, what we try and do, and what I always say here in our district, is we're a family and we're a team. We like to call ourselves the District of Champions here in Ingleside ISD, and that's
I
probably
love
real.
that.
That's the old coach in me. I'm a very competitive person, and I try and impose that on all of our students and our staff. We like to compete. We want to be the best at whatever it is we choose to do, and so really trying to build that team, and that's what we focus on here in the district. Um, you know, we're only as strong as our weakest link, and we're going to support each other, and ultimately we're going to do what's best for our kids. And I think in my leadership journey, it's really been about finding those people, putting them in those places where they can be successful, and then supporting them, and really just, I don't like to say stay out of the way, because I like to be involved, but trusting your people to do the job and supporting them so that they're successful in doing that.
Yeah, definitely. So important to empower others in their roles and build them up. Tell us how you balance academic preparedness with career and technical education to ensure students are both college and career ready.
Absolutely. So, here in Ingleside ISD, like I said, we like to call ourselves a district of champions. So, we understand that everybody's different. Every student is different. Every student learns differently. And our job is to prepare our kids to go out and be successful. And so here in the coastal bend, we're surrounded by industry. We have petrochemical industry. We have manufacturing industry. We have a lot of different opportunities. But at the same time, we want to make sure that our students who want to go to college are also academically prepared. So here in Ingleside, we really try and create a balance, and we try and give our students as many exposure to as many opportunities as they can possibly get. We are very proud that one of our students, who's a senior this year, we recently learned that he was one of about 3,000 students across the country that scored a perfect on the ACT. He scored a perfect 36.
Wow.
And so we actually recognized him at our September board meeting. And the information we got from the College Board, which administers the ACT, was that over 1.3 million students in the country took ACT last year, and about 3,000 of them had a perfect score. And so he was one of those. So it just
Amazing.
kind of shows that top end, high end instruction that we can provide our students, and they can be successful in that end. And on the other end of things, here in Ingleside, because we have so many opportunities in local industry, we've really tried to expand our CTE programs. We are very proud of that. We have one of the top rated welding programs in all of our region here in South Texas. We actually, in 2021, we built a state of the art welding center, and outfitted it. It has 28 welding bays with plasma cutters and all the different instruments that a welder would use. And we kind of like to joke around that when our students leave here with those welding certifications, they don't really want to leave here because the shop that they're going to go work at isn't as nice as what we provided them through the school. So, that's just one of the programs is welding. But last year we actually partnered with Del Mar College, which is one of our local community colleges here in the Corpus Christi area. And we started the first millwright program for our students here in Ingleside. And millwright is kind of like your industrial fabrication and repair.
I'm
So
glad
these
you
are the
elaborated on that.
yes. So they go in and they, anything that's in the plant or the refinery that's broken, they go in and they fix it. And they can fabricate parts for it or they can repair it. And so we started that program and it's been a really big success here in our district. But we wanted to go further than that because one of the things that we deal with in public education here in Texas is that the way our state accountability system is, they actually want kids to decide what they want to do with their lives when they're 14, 15, 16 years old. They want those kids to choose a pathway
Yeah.
that they'll get some type of certification in. And, as a parent of 4 kids myself, my kids, heck, I don't even know what I wanna do when I grow up. So I think it's asking a lot for
Yeah.
a teenager to know, do I like culinary? Do I like industry? Do I like medical science? Having them choose that and stay on that pathway for 4 years is difficult for not only educators, but more importantly for the students. So what we've tried to do this over the last 2 years is to really um, introduce those different pathways that we offer at our high school to our elementary and middle school students. So we actually created some classes here in the district as electives where we give those students an opportunity at the younger levels to be exposed to the different pathways we offer, whether it's welding, millwright, instrumentation, culinary, phlebotomy, medical science, all the different engineering, all the different things that we offer at our high school. We're trying to expose our elementary and middle school students to so that they at least get that general understanding of what that would look like as a possible career. And we've tried to be very innovative with that, which we're starting to incorporate virtual reality labs in our middle
Mm.
school, where those students can go in and using virtual reality, they can actually be a welder using a virtual reality
Oh,
headset.
that's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if they want to be a surgeon, they can actually take a human heart or a human brain and dissect it and actually hold it in their hands using virtual reality. So we're trying to be innovative in some of those different ideas to introduce our students to not only the industry, but also academic, like if they were to go be a doctor or some type of engineer in college.
Yeah, that is really tricky to ask teenagers to know what they wanna do for the rest of their lives. I know my path changed. I set out to become a teacher, and about halfway through, I started to really think about what that would mean for me and, whether I'd be able to make it on my own if I didn't find, a partner to share life with, and so I switched my major and went to business and, got my business administration degree in marketing, and then tried a couple of different positions, but, that's a pretty big, broad field. Tried a couple of different positions, and after the first one, I knew that I had to go back, and so I went back and got my certification, and, it was like, "I'll make it work. I'll figure it out. I can do it. Other people do it. I can do it, and I've gotta follow my passion." Um, but, so I didn't actually begin, teaching until I was 23 after, dabbling in a couple other areas. So, yeah, that's a tough thing to ask kids, and sounds like you're doing the best you can with it, trying to give them the opportunities to experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just like you, my career, I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. And that's what I did my first 2 years in college. And then I decided sitting in an office, being an engineer was not for me. I wanted to be a football coach. So then I became a football coach, and now I've moved into becoming a superintendent. So, and that's, as a parent myself, and then, as an educator, really giving kids an opportunity to experience all of those options, is, to me, the best that we can do for our kids.
Right.
Not trying to track them into one thing and say, no, you have to choose this, but really showing them what is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, that just I'm just trying to imagine how cool that would have been to, get a, like, virtual reality experience. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it has really been a game changer, for our middle school, and, one of the things I say we're a district of champions. Our middle school, was the highest rated middle school on the academic ratings in our region.
Wow,
So thank
congratulations.
you. No, we're very proud of the hard work of the students and the staff there in our middle school. Um, and I think it's because of that innovation and that desire to really, uh give our students not only options, but to provide that critical thinking and outside of the box thinking, has really paid off, because like you said, being able to put that virtual headset on and then the virtual gloves, and, I could go in there and I could take apart a car engine and manipulate all the pieces of a car engine. And then I could change the settings and I could dissect a dog or a cat or human and then we can change the settings and then they can actually go do a historical lesson where they walk through the pyramids in Egypt and look at all the different historical facts and artifacts. So it's really been something that, we've invested in here, and of course, it makes learning fun. And I
Yeah.
think as educators, that's the biggest challenge, is making it relevant and fun, because that's when kids learn. And so we're really excited about the future, uh, here in Ingleside, and what we're able to do with some of these new, um, pieces of technology and innovation that our teachers are coming up with.
Yeah, I'm thinking you've been in the lab before.
Yes, part of you surround yourself with good people, and our middle school principal and our middle school staff, they said, "Hey, we have this opportunity," and these virtual reality headsets were actually donated by one of our local industry partners,
Oh, that's
because
great, yeah.
we pitched it to them and we said, "Hey, look, this could be something where, we introduce our kids to what it would be like to work in a refinery or in a manufacturing lab." And they kind of researched it with us, and we collaborated with them, and then they bought us 30 sets of these virtual reality lab headsets and gloves, and um, it's really been a true partnership with them. And then we're like, okay, well, we can expand and not just make it industry. We could do science, we could do robotics, and we can do history. And so it's really kind of taken off, and just the possibilities are endless with, what we're able to do, and using that AI that is the big, buzzword now, and the big thing is that move to AI. Well, instead of fearing it, we're trying to embrace it and use it for student learning and student success.
Yeah. I was actually working with, a teacher last week, and, he was trying to come up with some, rigorous and relevant questions to, complement a novel that his students were engaging with, and, I suggested, "Let's tap into AI and see what we can find there." And, one of the leaders, in the district said, "That's not really a good idea," and I thought, "Oh boy, okay, this is interesting." Yeah, I people are in different places with it, but, if it can help us with ideas and to come up with solutions and give us a starting point, I think it's really powerful.
I agree. I mean, we, at first we're very I consider myself old school. I'm kind of an old soul, so to speak. But you surround yourself with good people, and you collaborate with them, and you look at the different ideas. And my middle school principal is a perfect example of that. He was anti AI. It was, no, this is not what's best for kids. And then we all sat down and we started looking at, well, you could use this here, and if you put these safeguards here, it can be beneficial. And we finally realized that, it's here and people are
Yeah.
using it each and every day. When you can get on Facebook and see all the different things that they're able to create with AI. And so what we did is we sat down as a group and we kind of came up with some parameters, and it's really just kind of exploded, and in a positive way in terms of introducing our students to those things, putting those safeguards in, and it really creates that critical thinking and that exploration that we're looking
Yeah.
for to make those connections.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Some of the prompts that were generated were not entirely accurate, according to the text, and that led to some critical thinking around how can we take that and massage that so that it is accurate and engaging for the students. Um, so that's great. Are you are would you say that your kids are I'm just curious, this is, not necessarily a topic that we planned on talking about, but since you brought it up, are your students using AI in the classrooms?
So we actually here have started implementing some AI in our classrooms. Now, here in the state of Texas, we actually had new legislation where students cannot have cell phones during the
Oh,
instructional day.
right, okay.
And so, that has been a change in the way of thinking because, for a long time, students here in our district, they could not use cell phones during class time unless the teacher gave them permission. So we actually were kind of ahead of the curve with that.
Yeah.
But it's now it's the law, and so it we kind of geared up for a fight with that thankfully has not really happened. I mean, the parents are on board and students seem to be on board, and the teachers are excited because it's not a distraction anymore. But we are a one-to-one device district, so all of our students have Chromebooks, and with the AI and all the different like the chat GPT and all the different other AI engines out there, we've actually created different levels of how students can use it during the educational setting. So sometimes the teacher will say, "Hey, this is kind of a level one, which means you can't use AI at all. I mean, it's completely, old school on your own. Research it." And then they may say, okay, you can use AI for brainstorming, or so it'd be like a level two, and so we kind of have a system set up in our schools where students are told up front, yes, you can use it for this part, or no, you can't.
Mm.
And really trying to find that balance is something we're still refining. But I think we've been very successful to this point in terms of finding that balance of what it should be used for, because you don't want it to do the work for the student,
Yeah,
take away
exactly.
all the creativity and learning. But then sometimes it's okay because it can help generate ideas, which then spur further learning and creation.
Yes, indeed. I was thinking about that when, I heard the legislation around the cell phone policy passed here in the state, and also expected I would be hearing from a lot of, district leaders, school site leaders that there were challenges with it, and I'm hearing a lot of what you're saying, like, not as much as we expected.
Right. No, it's definitely something we spent a lot of time, planning for once that legislation passed. We put a lot of time and effort and discussion, and what strategies are we gonna use to communicate this to our students
Mhm.
and our families and our parents. And so we tried to be very proactive with that, and, it really has been, for the most part, a non-issue, which has been great. Teachers, I am not one that likes to sit in my office, which I'm in here now, and it kind of feels uncomfortable because I'm not usually in the office. I'm one of those that I like to be on the go. I'm in the campuses every day. I like to be in classrooms, in the hallways. I do lunch duty, um, and just kind of seeing how students are interacting with each other now, and talking with staff. Like, you know, in the past, you'd walk into the cafeteria and kids are, with a screen in their face, and they might be texting or Snapchatting or whatever it is, communicating with someone sitting next to them, but they're doing it while they're looking at a screen. And now that's not the case anymore. And it's really refreshing to see kids actually talking to each other. And some of our campuses during lunch, they brought out the old school board games, and kids are playing board games, which, you know, it's a way that they're interacting. It's that social interaction, and it's really refreshing to see that in our schools again.
Yeah, that's fun. Definitely fun, especially, coming off the pandemic. So many students really struggled to socialize and engage in that space the same way that they had before, and so many littles struggled because they didn't have some of the background experiences before entering kindergarten that their predecessors had, where they might be in public settings with others. And so yeah, I definitely saw a trend there, and it is good to see students back in full swing
Yes,
and socializing with each other, developing those skills. And they do it in different ways. When they could have the cell phones, they might be standing right next to each other,
yes.
and socializing through a video game that they were playing together,
Yes, man.
you know, at lunch or recess. But yeah, it is really good to see them engaging like that. That's awesome, and that's exciting. I'd wanna be out in those classrooms too.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, that's the best part of my day is when I'm out in front of the schools in the morning, helping the primary or elementary kids out of the cars and saying good morning to them and waving to the parents, and then, you know, being in the cafeterias during lunch. Really, just that kind of keeps me going because I got into education because I liked helping kids, and that's sometimes in my role as a superintendent, I sometimes feel like I don't get to do that. So I really try and make that a point each and every day to be around kids and staff and really see what's going on and visit with them and build those relationships.
Yep, that makes a family.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it does. Uh, Scott, tell us about your systems for continuous improvement. How do you all go from you have good state ratings, and you've done so many wonderful things with safety and innovation and academics, college and career readiness. How do you continuously improve upon that success?
Well, I think part of that is kind of, I keep mentioning, we like to be a district of champions, and I'm a
Yeah.
very competitive person. And so, one of the things we're very proud of is for the last 3 years, our district has been the highest rated academic district in our county. And it's one of the highest rated in our region as well. But how we improve is we've always got to look in the mirror. And, we every year we set some district priorities for ourselves. And then what I have my campus leaders do is they set some campus priorities. And, to me, I take it as the old coach. I take that approach where you're going to come up with a game plan, and we're going to stick to that game plan throughout the year. And there might be some minor adjustments we have to make throughout the game or the school year. And we're gonna constantly evaluate our data and look at what's working and get that feedback. And so, like for example, this year here in our district, we set 3 district priorities, and one of them was accountability. And for us, that accountability as a district priority was not necessarily just academics, but it's accountability for us as adults and for our students. Being responsible for our actions, being responsible for the decisions we make, and as adults, always making the best decision for our students. And one of the things that I've tried to emphasize each week to our staff, because I do a weekly update where I actually do a video message, and we try and make it fun. Sometimes I'm in a football helmet, sometimes I'm skateboarding down the road. But we really, really try and impress upon them that sometimes as adults, if we want to change things, we have to change ourselves before we can ask kids to change. So really taking a look at how we've always done things, and is it really what's best for kids? And I know myself included, as a teacher for a long time, I'd have lesson plans, and I knew that on this day of this unit, I was going to teach this, and I was going to do it with this presentation or this group assignment or whatever, that lesson plan called for. And sometimes as teachers, we get comfortable and we kind of get in what I call a rut. And so this year with accountability, I'm really challenging everyone in our district, myself included, to look at how we do things and look and see if there's a better way we can do things to help kids. And so that was our first district priority, is really taking that deep look into the mirror and saying, am I doing what's best for all of my students? And then our second district priority is we went in and we looked at our state testing data, and we discovered that writing was an area that we really needed to focus on. Um, with the AI grading that our state uses now in writing, we noticed that we had a lot of students who were getting no points or very few points, even though they were writing a complete essay or complete response. And in the old days, when you had a human grader, they were going to get points for that, for that response, for that answer. But with the AI system that they're using to grade the state tests now, uh, that's not necessarily the case. You have to hit certain uh, have
Element.
certain ways that you word it, or
Mhm.
make sure you're answering the question a certain way and repeating the question and then providing the evidence. And what we saw was that maybe our teachers were not trained properly, or didn't have enough knowledge of the rubric that the AI grading was using. So we've really put a huge emphasis this year on really going through that with our teachers and providing them professional development on what that looks like from the rubric and the AI grading standpoint, and how we can better prepare our students for success in their writing responses. So, looking at the data from last year's state assessments, and then really putting some systems in place in our daily lessons and our writing, and what we're looking for, and then providing our staff members an opportunity each 6 weeks to really dive into that data as they do benchmark testing or unit testing. Um, we're giving them time each 6 weeks by providing a sub or providing a planning day where they
Good.
can actually go in as a group and look at each individual student and seeing how they're doing on that writing or on the math or whatever it is they're focusing on in their content area. And so really trying to provide uh, that information to our staff has been really important as a district priority, particularly in writing for us based on what our scores look like. And then our last one was discipline. One of the challenges that educators have faced since you talked about COVID earlier was when students came back, that social emotional um, impact that COVID had really affected discipline, the
Mhm.
student interaction. And so what we're trying to do here as a district is, you know, I don't think that we have a huge discipline problem. We have our discipline in the district just like everyone else does. But really looking at the root cause, what's causing the student to
Mhm.
have these issues in the classroom or in the school, and what can we do to support that student but also support our teachers, because we all know that if you have a disruptive student, it can affect the learning of others. And so we've really taken a deep dive into some of our responses to discipline and how we can better support all of our students, uh, including the ones who are having those discipline issues. And so that's district. And then each campus has broken it down even further, and they have 2 or 3 campus priorities that they're focusing on as well. So really, we have 4 or 5 things at each campus, which 3 district priorities and then a couple of campus priorities that we're really putting a lot of focus and a lot of heavy lifting into this year as we continue to improve.
That's great. Yeah, I'm thinking about, the AI scoring of the writing that you mentioned, and with that, it sounds like being relatively new. um, I think that really understanding what the rubric is looking for and asking for and having that time to collaborate and analyze the data and respond to it is huge. So, kudos to you all, for being proactive in that area.
Yes, ma'am. No, it's really been something that we're passionate about because as we got that data back from the state and we look at, we did great. I mean, we're, like I said, you're highest rated in your county and one of the higher rated in your region. So you feel good about that. But then you look at what was left on the table and what could we have scored as a district, but how were students affected? Because, we get that access and we get to actually see what those students wrote for their responses. And you're like, well, the kid understood, what the question was. They answered the question. Why are they only getting 3 out of 10 points? And it's when you go back and you look at that rubric of how the AI grades it, well, they didn't answer it in this manner. They didn't rephrase the question first, and then they didn't put this supporting evidence next. So really trying to train our teachers and then push that into the students and train them throughout the school year. We're really hopeful that that makes a big impact moving forward in our student scores.
Yeah, I mean, they deserve to be able to show that they do know, that they do understand, that they do know, and they do have those skills. So that's great. Yeah. Well, Scott Kilgore, thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk with you, and get to know you a little bit, and to hear about the wonderful things happening in Ingleside ISD. It's just been an honor.
Thank you, Wendy. I've really enjoyed today's show, and I look forward to visiting with y'all again in the future because I really enjoy sharing our story here in our district.
That sounds great. Um, Scott, where can you have all these awesome things happening, and there's teachers out there, maybe looking for a place to call home and a family. Where can they go to learn more about the district, or to see if you have any positions opening up?
Yeah, so we do have our district webpage, which is inglesideisd.org. So you can find us on our website. We have our any positions open posted on our website. We like to put videos up of different things that are happening in our schools, and we also have a Facebook page. We have social media, and we also are like I said, we try and share our story. We actually host our own podcast here in our district, which is called Mustangs on the Mic, and we are on Spotify and on YouTube. And so, we really like to encourage people to learn about our family, and we're always looking for new family members because Ingleside is a great community. We've got great families, we've got great kids, and our town really rallies behind the school district. So it's a great place, and I am very blessed and fortunate to be part of it.
It sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. Well, thanks again. Before we sign off, let's end with something a little bit fun. You mentioned football. Favorite football team?
Are we talking pros or are we talking college
Let's
teams?
do both.
Okay. So we'll start with college. As an old football coach, I actually like any school that's a Texas school. So any Texas public or private college, I'm a fan of. If I had to pick a favorite, I am an Aggie. Whoop. So Texas A&M is definitely a team that I enjoy following. And then as far as the pros, unfortunately for me, I am a suffering Cowboys fan.
Same here. Okay, we have that in common.
Yes, I do follow the Dallas Cowboys, and I think they've aged me over the years. But it's we like to talk about the glory days. I just don't like to mention that was 30 years.
You
So
know, isn't it crazy when you think
yes,
about it? Yeah,
yes.
it's
But
been not time. For
I do I do enjoy the Cowboys, and then I also like Texans. They're so like I said, I really am a Texas football fan, and
yeah.
but my real passion is high school. I love following high school football, and I have a lot of friends and colleagues that I've worked with over the years that were coaches or still coaches, and I think it's not just football, but athletics in general, and extracurricular band, UIL academics, all of that plays such an important role in kids' lives, and
That's good for kids.
the more that kids are exposed to and can do, the better they're going to be. And so, as a parent of 4 kids myself, I've had academic UIL academic participants. I've had my son was in the band and was a all region trumpet player, and then I've got a daughter playing college volleyball, so it's a I have a wide variety of kids who experience different things, and it's truly giving those kids the opportunity is a great thing.
It sure is. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to the Unlock 360 podcast. Follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube, and visit leadteachlearn360.com to learn more about us, because every school deserves systems that work and leaders who can make them thrive.